Hi there, I'm Lance and I'm a gamer.
And I'm Sam and I'm a non-gamer.
And we are Love to Hate, where we try to help gamers find great games to play with non-gamers.
And today we're taking a look at In the Footsteps of Darwin by Sorry We Are French.
In the Footsteps of Darwin is a drafting tile-laying game in which you are going to be following in the footsteps of Darwin. And what that means is that you will be collecting different species to place on your board in rows or columns that match where they're found in the world and what type of species they are. And you're trying to complete these rows or columns to earn other tiles, which are going to give you points at the end of the game. Let me show you how it works down below, and then we'll come back and share thoughts on it as a gamer and non-gamer. All right, I have In the Footsteps of Darwin on the table. Let me show you guys how this drafting game with a Darwin theme to it is going to work. Now, with this game, you are going to have a central board. You're going to have lots of animal tiles as well as character tiles. In fact, here's Charles Darwin right here, and a big stack of these tiles. Now, this isn't all of the tiles. There are several more. You only play with however many you need for whatever your player count is in the game. You will also have these theory tiles, which act as in-game bonus points. You've got these publication tokens, compass tokens, guide tokens. You've got a wooden Beagle meeple. That's the boat that Darwin sailed around in. And then you also have a Darwin standee over here that is going to give 2 points to whoever controls it at the end of the game. And you also have a cloth bag that just holds the tokens. It has no purpose in the gameplay. And also, all players have their own board, and you will be keeping track of the tiles you draft on this board, as well as your compasses and your guides and whatnot. I'll come back to this board here in just a minute, but mostly we're going to focus here on the central board. Now, how you play this game, it's very, very simple. I know it looks like it might be a more complicated game than what you're used to seeing here on Love to Hate, but it is a very simple game. On your turn, you are going to draft something that is in front of the Beagle, and then you will move the Beagle a number of spaces depending on which tile you drafted. Now, the Beagle here is going to show the player, the active player, what tiles they can draft. So as the Beagle is right now, I could draft one of these 3 tiles right here because it's directly in front of the Beagle. Now, if I had any of these guide tokens over here, at the start of my turn, I could spend a guide to move the Beagle 1 space forward or 1 space backwards, changing up which tiles that I have access to. And if the Beagle's on the side of the board like here, then you will be drafting from the row and not the column, obviously. And another thing that the guides could let you do, they can let you take out all the tiles that are in that row or column that you're drafting from. So for instance, I didn't want any of these 3 right here. I would take them out. I'd put them on the bottom of the stack over there, and I would put new ones in these spots here. That's what the guides do, but whatever I end up drafting, so let's say that I draft this Bengal tiger here, there's a couple of things I want to take note of on the tiles. I want to take note of what type of species it is, as there are 4 different types of species in the game, and I want to take note of what region of the world it comes from, as denoted by the color behind the icon, and then I want to look and see what icons are on the bottom of this tile. So for instance, this is a red mammal, and that's going to be in this spot right here on my player board. As you can see, red mammal right there. And I would put that tile in that spot right there. I have to put it in that spot. Now, the icons on the bottom of the tile are going to tell me what I gain from taking the Bengal tiger. I will receive 1 point at the end of the game if this tile is still on top of the board at the end of the game, because you may be stacking other tiles on top of tiles that you've already placed. And if you do that, then you don't gain the victory points that are on the tiles. So you want to make sure to leave tiles with points showing. This icon right here would tell me that I gain the Darwin standee, which is simply going to give me 2 points at the end of the game if I have him. However, somebody might take him away from me. Now, when I draft a tile, a new one will fill its spot, and I will move the Beagle a number of spaces depending on which position of tile I drafted. If I draft the tile that's closest to the Beagle, then it only moves one spot. If I drafted the tile that was 2 spaces away from the Beagle, so for instance this Imperial Eagle right here, then it's going to move 2 spaces forward. And as you might guess, if I take the tile that's 3 spaces away, then it would move 3 spaces forward. And that's the idea with how the drafting and the market works. So some of the other icons of things you'll see on the tiles, if I draft anything with this icon on it, that's how I'm going to get these guides. Now you can only have a maximum of 2 guides throughout the course of the game, and there's a icon reference to remind you of what the guides will let you do. If I draft anything that has a briefcase on it or a suitcase on it, that's going to be for in-game bonus points, and I will want to try and draft things that have compasses on them with the addition of the suitcases, because those 2 things are going to work together. When I get a compass, I take one of these compass tokens right here and I place it in one of the spots down here on the bottom of my player board. As you can see, I can get a maximum of 5 compasses, and how many compasses I get times however many suitcases are showing on my board at the end of the game. That's what that eye icon right there means. It tells me how many victory points I get there. So if I only have 1 compass and 1 suitcase, I'm only getting 1 point, because 1 times 1 is 1. So I want to try to maximize compasses and suitcases at the end of the game. And let's see, what other icons are there? Well, this icon right here tells me that I get to take one of the theories. Now, as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, these are theories and they will give you in-game victory points for how well you accomplished whatever is on the tile. These in-game victory points are going to slot in on these parts right here of my board. As you can see, I can hold 6 of them throughout the course of the game. And this one in particular says I will get 1 point for every species that I get that comes from the Asia region. That's the red region right here. And that does include ones that I stack on top of it. So I could get a lot of points with this particular tile if I'm taking a lot of red token or tiles out here. Now, I mentioned there are character tokens. Charles Darwin himself is one of them, but there are other characters throughout the course of the game, and you will not slot them in any of these spots over here. However, they will go on these spots over here, and you can get a maximum of 3 characters throughout the course of the game, and they're just going to give you bonus things at the bottom. That's all they'll do for you. They're not going to help you with your species over here, but sometimes they can give you lots of good things. Now, with the tiles that you're drafting and putting them in these sections over here, you will gain extra theories as well as publications for doing special things. If you fill up a complete row or column, that is going to allow you to make a publication, which is going to give you one of these tokens, which is worth 5 points. So you will want to be trying to do that quite often throughout the course of the game. Another way you can get these tiles over here is to stack a tile on top of a tile that you already have. So for instance, I mentioned that I had a Bengal tiger right here. If I were to happen to get another species from the red Asia district, mammal species, excuse me, I would place that on top of this Bengal tiger. I would lose whatever icons were down here that were on the Bengal tiger. However, I would gain whatever's on the new tile that I'm placing on top of it. And because I stacked one on top of one that I already have, I would get to draw one of these from the market over here on this side of the board. Let me give you another example. This one right here says I get 1 point for every tile that I get in this upper right quadrant, and that it does include tiles that are stacked. So another way you can get lots of points. And that's pretty much the gist of the game. You will continue playing until the stack runs out. Everyone will have an equal number of turns because this stack of tiles, which you may not see, I'm just now realizing, is determined on player count. And so it is structured in such a way that it will run out with an equal number of turns for the player count that you're playing with. You do also have a score sheet to help you keep track of points in the game. And that's pretty much the gist of it. I do also want to point out that the rule book and the game also comes with an appendix catalog in it, and there's lots of historical information in this rule book, lots of information that you could read about if that's to your liking. And so this game is not just a game, it's very educational. This appendix here goes over every tile that you see in the game, and that's pretty cool. So there you have it. That's what you have here with In the Footsteps of Darwin. Let's go back up top and share our thoughts on this one.
And now we're back, and now we're going to share our thoughts on In the Footsteps of Darwin from a gamer and non-gamer's perspective. So Sam, we typically like these drafting, tile-laying games where you're filling up a board and you've got, you know, only so much space to fill these things up. This isn't like one of those spatial type games, but you do draft these tiles depending upon where you're supposed to go on your board. So in some ways it is a spatial game. But what was this particular one like for you?
I mean, I thought it was a really good game. We played it with our two best friends who are probably less gamers than we are. One of them is. And I think everybody had a good time playing this game. It was fairly straightforward. It's not a light game, probably medium weight, I'd say. But everybody understood what they were doing.
Yeah, I'd say it's a light to medium weight game. It's not as...
It doesn't feel light to me as a non-gamer.
As a gamer, no, I think, you know, it's maybe somewhere on the line of like an Acropolis or maybe just a tad higher than that, because it's a bit of a point salad. You're getting points in a few different ways, and I think that's where the complexity lies in the game, is knowing, well, I can get points here, I can get points there. But the actual rule set and how the game plays is fairly straightforward. You're moving the ship around, you can draft one of the three that are in front of you, and you, depending on what you draft, you have to place it in a certain spot on your board. That's all there is to the game. But where you get those points is where the complexity lies. I thought the game was very intriguing, and for just like a simple mechanic like I just described, I thought there were a lot of good choices built into it because of all the different ways you can score points. I mean, was the game engaging for you as a non-gamer?
Yeah, for sure. I think there's pros and cons to having a game that has lots of options of gaining points, but in general, it was a good one for a non-gamer.
Yeah, I think, like I said, the game is pretty straightforward. The teach is very simple. If you watch that rules portion of the video, I think, you know, you'll get it in 2-3 minutes, right? Knowing what you're doing on your turn. And then as you play the game more and you start to see where all you can get your points, if you're going to complete rows, if that's a strategy, if you're going to stack on top and get more of those in-game bonus points that you can collect, that's another strategy. You know, there's several different ways that you can sort of get your points in this game. Compasses and briefcases or suitcases or whatever those are.
Yeah.
You know, there's just a lot of ways that you could get points, and I think that's what makes the game interesting and intriguing with each choice that you make. For me, I really enjoyed this one. I was a little intimidated by the way that it looked, and even the rule book and the material that's packed in this game, because it makes it look like it's a very educational game. Not that that's a bad thing, it's just like it's a dense game.
It makes it feel heavier.
It makes it look dense, let's put it that way. And it's not. I mean, it doesn't have to be. You can definitely play the game without having to read through all of the educational material. But it's great that that's in there so that you can if you want to.
Yeah.
But you as a non-gamer, I think you have maybe more to say on it than I would. Just the looks of the game, what does it look like to you?
I mean, it looks like a heavy game. When you set all this out and he brought this over for our two friends, I was like, we're going to hate this.
This is not the right one.
This is not a good, but it turned out that everybody did, you know, have a good time playing it.
Yeah. Now, it probably doesn't help the game any that there is another Darwin type game out there right now, Darwin's Journeys. And not that I'm going to spend much time talking about that game, but it's similar theme. And it sort of looks even similar in the artwork and the overall feel to the game. Totally, completely different games. But it probably doesn't do this game any favors if that game exists and everybody knows that that's a very heavy game. And you take a look at this and you're kind of like, oh, that's going to be just like that one. No way, that's too heavy. The looks are deceiving with this particular game. It's not heavy. You can play it with a lot of different people. It is pretty accessible. So, All right, let's get to pros and cons for In the Footsteps of Darwin. What stood out to you in a good way with this one?
And I think the artwork is really good on this one. It is fairly straightforward as far as the drafting aspect goes. I really liked how the drafting worked with the boat and everything like that. So I think in general it's a good gateway game for some non-gamers to get to that slightly higher level of game.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think this is a gateway game. I think this can definitely be one of those games that after maybe you've played a real basic drafting type game. Side note, we just reviewed Sushi Go Spin Some for Dim Sum, and this is on my mind right now. That would be kind of like a class, like a real entry drafting game. This can be a game that kind of is the step up from that, where you're saying, okay, now you know drafting, let's look at this. Because it does add some more higher level of thinking to the game. Not a ton, but some. So yeah, I think I would totally agree with Sam on that. Compelling choices, lots of ways to get points, so every decision feels meaningful. I think those are some pretty good pros there. What maybe stood out in not so great ways?
I personally have a hard time with point salad games. I want to do everything, so it's hard for me to focus on where am I going to be getting the most points. I'll do this and then I'll do that, and ultimately I end up losing because
you're too spread thin.
I'm too spread thin. Yeah, and so I think it's not a con for the game. It's just a con for how I feel about the game.
The genre of game, maybe. Yeah, I think that could be a true thing. You know, we've talked about how there are there are types of games that may or may not work great for non-gamers. Worker placement can be one because there's just so many different options on the board, and memorizing where all the different things you can do.
I think any game where there's just a lot of ways where you can choose, a lot of choices, it's going to be a little bit more difficult for a non-gamer.
You would like maybe a more structured.
My favorite games are structured. This is what you do. This is what they do, and you just go back and forth.
See who can do it better. Kind of thing. More efficient, better. Whereas this is, do you want to get points here? Do you want to get points there? Do you want to get points here?
Once you play these types of games, that particular game over and over again, you do start learning. I don't really need to focus on that. I do better getting points this way.
Okay, I think that's fair enough. I don't know that I had many cons with this particular one. I found it very enjoyable. I had a good experience with this one. So let's get to scores for In the Footsteps of Darwin. I'm going to go first if that's all right. I think this game is great. I think it was a very enjoyable experience. Quite surprised by it. Had a great time playing it. And then when I brought it over to you and our friends, I was really excited to try it out with them. Really pleased to find that they also had a good time with it. I'm going to give this game an 8, which may be pretty high, in comparison to some other games that we've played. But I think it's going to find a lot of success with a lot of people. I think there's just some really good choices built into this game. And I like it. So I'm going to give it an 8. Where's it coming in at for you?
I'm going to be a little bit lower, just because there's, it's a lot going on, the points and everything, and I lost, so I'm gonna, just kidding. I think the more I play it, it's one of those games that could go up just based on the amount of times I played it right now. I'd probably give it a 7.5.
Okay, I think that's fair enough. Yeah. Well, there you go. That's our thoughts and scores on In the Footsteps of Darwin. I'm an 8. She's a 7.5. The game is from Sorry We Are French. Leave us some comments down below. Let us know your thoughts on this game.
Make sure to like and subscribe and push that bell button so you get notifications of all our new content.
I'm Lance.
I'm Sam.
We are Love to Hate, where we try to bridge the gap between gamers and non-gamers. We'll catch you next time.